Grateful to be clean. I want to thank Lauren for the introduction. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Before I start speaking, I kind of want to take a moment of silence real quick to ask the God of my understanding to come through me and carry a clear-cut message of recovery. So you can take a moment of silence with me really quick. Thank you. Like I said, my name is Mike, and I am an addict.
Hi, Mike.
Grateful to be here, grateful to be clean. I'm always grateful to be anywhere clean. And it's always such an honor and a privilege to be of service to Narcotics Anonymous. No matter how much service, I've learned through the process, no matter how much service I do, I can never give back what Narcotics Anonymous has given to me. You know, everything it has done for my life the way it is today. So anytime I'm asked to speak or be of service, I'm always truly, truly grateful. So with that being said, I'll start a little bit about my backstory, a little bit about me, kind of where I came from and my process through my addiction and to where I'm at in my recovery now. I grew up in a household with my parents, both parents at home, and 3 sisters and an older brother. And through my childhood, drugs and using were very normal for me. My parents used, my mom was an alcoholic growing up, my dad drank and used drugs throughout my whole childhood. So it was very normal to me. These things that I was normal, that were normalized for me. So it wasn't like a big deal. So, growing up, there's a lot of chaos, insanity, and confusion, and that's what I've seen. And I would go to school, and I wouldn't really fit in with the kids in school, and I would go home, and I didn't really know where I fit in the dynamics at my house, because everything that was going on with my parents. I also grew up in a household where there was a lot of domestic abuse, and my dad would beat on my mom in front of us kids on a daily basis. So there was a lot of, like I said, insanity and confusion when I went home. So I never really found out who I was or where I fit in the world, in a sense. So I kind of grew up lost. And as I got, started growing up, and I started going to school and meeting some other people, and I kind of met some people that were just like me, and they had kind of the same things going on at home. And my parents didn't really care that much that I didn't come home. I started getting in trouble at 9, 10 years old. I was getting arrested already, in and out of jail, juvenile hall, at a young age. And running the streets at 10, 11, 12 years old, being an active gang member. And there just wasn't really anything at home that was my parents saying this is bad. They would tell me it's not okay, but there was no punishment or nothing like that. So I just acted out more and more and more. And through my process of recovery, I've learned that I was attention seeking a lot of the times. I just wanted some attention. I just wanted to figure out where I fit in at, because I just didn't know that. But I realized when I started getting older and started using, and the first time I used, when I used the first time, I did it to kind of be cool and fit in. But then I realized the more and more I used, I could change my reality. I could change my perception of myself. Because I really didn't like who I was, Rob. I didn't like who I was growing up. I got made fun of and I got picked on, and when I got home I didn't get no love and affection, and I just didn't like who I was. So every time when I would pick up or put a substance in my body, it changed my perception. It changed my reality. It turned me into somebody that I always wanted to be. All of a sudden, them feelings and everything that I was feeling got stuffed down, and I didn't have to feel it anymore. But the problem with that is, once I put the substance in me, and the feelings are gone, when I wake up the next day or the substance wears off, it comes back. And it comes back more. And it comes back harder. So I got to use more. So as I start getting a little bit older, and I'm stuffing all these feelings down and not talking to anybody about it, and being lost in the world in a sense, and I'm using, all of a sudden drugs are my life. All of a sudden I can't function, Rob, without using. And my whole life is about getting and finding the ways and means to get one more. That's what it turned into. I got a freshman education level. I got expelled from school in the 9th grade. Never went back. Ran the streets, sold drugs, did a lot of people great harm through my active addiction. And I kept doing it and doing it and doing it. and didn't really realize why I was doing it, or really what was going on. To this disease of addiction, we talk about cunning, baffling, and powerful. And I didn't really realize what I was dealing with at that time. And I'm grateful for the program, because it like I said in the beginning, it truly changed and saved my life. I've tried everything. I've tried moving. I've tried relationships. I've tried treatment centers over and over and over, detoxes. I've tried relationships, girlfriends. I've tried church. I've tried locking myself in my room. I've tried every single thing that you could think of to stop using, but couldn't figure out how. I couldn't figure out, Rob, every time when I got out of treatment, that obsession kicked right back in and I didn't know what to do with it. My mind is racing to get pick one more up, and all of a sudden that obsession turns into compulsion where I pick it up. I didn't realize what I was dealing with. And Narcotics Anonymous has taught me that. It's taught me that it's deeper than the drugs. The drugs are just a symptom of my problem. So this program has taught me that it's about my obsessive, compulsive, and complete self-centered behavior. Everything is always about me. Or I should say everything was always about what Mike wanted, what Mike didn't get. I lived in self-loathing and self-pity for a long, long, long time. That was my reality for a long time. And to kind of go through my story, at 18 years old, I have an 11-year-old daughter now. She'll be 11 next month. And at 18 years old, I met her mother and got her pregnant, and I thought this was going to change my life. I thought having this child was going to get me away from everything, the streets, the drugs, everything was going to change. But nothing changed. Nothing. When she was born, I used harder. I used more. Because mind you, I grew up in a household where my dad wasn't really there that much. And when he was there, he was intoxicated. He was beating on my mom. So I really didn't know how to be a father. So when this little girl showed up in my life, I really didn't know what to do. But what I did know how to do was use. What I did know how to do was mask my feelings. So I continued to do it more and more and more. So eventually, she left me. My daughter was taken away from me. At the time, through that process, I had managed to get like a pretty good union job. I lost that. I lost the place that I was living at. Everything got taken away from me. And a normal person, when their wife or their kid gets taken away, or is about to get taken away, they're going to stop using. But my addict thinking tells me, when she's gone, my daughter's gone, guess what? I can use harder. I can use more. Now nobody's stopping me from using. I'll get her back later on. That's my addiction. So I cycled harder and harder, out of control. And the drugs became more. And the drugs became harder. And all of a sudden I'm in and out of jail committing crimes. And can't figure out, how the fuck do I stop? How did I get here? Because I know when I was using, time went by like that. I'm 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Years are just going by. And I don't even, I look back at it now and it's like, it was just a daze. And I didn't know what happened to time. There was no sense of time. When I was 24 years old, I ended up in a treatment center through probation, through Will County Jail. And I had a couple felony charges and they offered me task probation. And I remember when the judge offered me task probation and they told me 90 days of treatment. And mind you, I already was in county jail for 13 months. They offered me 90 days of treatment and I was excited. I was ecstatic about it because I thought going to treatment was going to really change my life. But see, what happened was I went to treatment and I didn't change anything. So when I went to treatment and 30, 60, 90 days went by, I leave that treatment center the same person I came in if I don't work on nothing. But one thing that treatment center did do for me, and I'm truly grateful to this day, is guys would come up there on the H&I panel for Narcotics Anonymous, every Saturday at 7 o'clock, and they would come up there and they would carry a message. And they would carry a message and say, if you want what we have to offer, this is how you get it. And they would come up there with speakers, and they would bring the literature, and they would talk about the 12 steps, and that stuff amazed me. It amazed me because I wanted it, but I really didn't know how to get it. And they would tell me just get out, make some meetings, get a sponsor, make a start on the steps. It's real simple, Mike. But I couldn't wrap my brain around that. How was working some steps going to change my life? How was getting a grown man as a sponsor going to really help me? Talking about sharing feelings and where I grew up, where I come from, we don't do that. We don't talk about how I'm feeling. My dad would tell me all the time, man up. It'll be all right. He used to tell me all the time, drink a beer and smoke a joint, you'll be okay. That's the kind of guidance that I got. Misinformed information from misinformed people. So I would see them coming up there in groups of people, carrying a message, talking about 10, 15, 20 years clean. And that blew my mind, 10, 15, 20 years clean without using no drugs whatsoever. What is your life really like? How are you really that happy? Because I couldn't wrap my brain around not being able to function in society without putting a substance in my body. So they would come up there and carry that message, and I would hear them, but I really wouldn't hear them. Because Mike wasn't ready to change yet. Mike thought that 13 months in county, 3 months of treatment, Mike would be okay when he got out. We talk about clean time does not equal recovery. Just because I put a few 24 hours together, absolutely I'm clean, but that's not recovery to me. Getting a sponsor, working steps, making meetings, and helping others is recovery to me. Continuing to work on myself is recovery. So when I got out, and it was a co-ed treatment center, and I met a woman in there, and it was going to be a great idea, Rob, to move in with her when I got out. Because she was clean, I was clean, we're going to make meetings, and we're going to be like a power recovery couple, and, life is going to be great. I wasn't even out that treatment center for a week, and I was getting high again. Not even a week. With all that clean time that I talk about that I accumulated through jail and through treatment, didn't last a week. Because once I hit them doors, and Mike didn't work on anything, and I left the same person I went in as, that obsession, that compulsion kicked in all over again. So I'm walking out the doors with nothing, and that obsession is saying, come on, Mike, just pick one up. Just one. So about 3 days in, I drove up to the west side and I picked one up. And that one turned to two, 2 to 3, and you know the rest of the story. And all of a sudden, I'm living at her house and I'm using. Again. She's using. And like a tornado, I've never caused that much harm in my life like I caused with her, her family, my family, even though I wasn't living with them. The destruction that I caused, I'm still making amends for to this day. Still. Through that process, I overdosed 5 times. On my 4th overdose, I ended up in the hospital, and the blood had cut off the circulation to my brain. So when I woke up in the hospital, I had to relearn how to walk. I had to relearn how to talk. When the doctors would talk to me, I would have to write everything down on a notepad. Because, given 2, 3, 4 minutes later, I would not have made it. But through the grace of God, I did make it through that. And a few weeks later, I made it out of the hospital. But in untreated addiction, I still don't know how to get rid of that obsession and that compulsion. So I'm talking straight out the hospital, within a few days I'm using again. And I'm putting the same thing in my body that just put me in the hospital, but Rob, this time it was going to be different. Rob, it wasn't different. I overdosed again for the 5th time. And on that 5th overdose, I had like a spiritual awakening as we kind of as we call it in the program, and I knew something had to change. Either if nothing changed, I was gonna die. And a lot of days I would wake up wishing I was dead, too scared to kill myself, lost, scared. You know, I would sit on the end of the bed crying, how do I get out of this? And I remembered them guys coming up there talking to me when I was in treatment about working a 12-step program in Narcotics Anonymous. And, you know, her family they were done with me. They kicked me out. I had nowhere else to go. The only family I really had left to reach out to was my dad. I reached out to him, and he's like, what are you going to do different this time, Mike? What is going to be different that you haven't done before through the detoxes and the treatments? What is going to be different this time? And I remember telling him, like, man, I don't know, Dad, but I heard about this 12-step meetings in this program, and I think I'm going to give that a try. And that's exactly what I did. I had willingness at that time because I was tired of the way my life was. I was an empty shell, not living life whatsoever. I remember waking up in the morning, sitting on the stoop. You know, I was living out in Chicago at the time, smoking a cigarette, and seeing people go to work every single day. And wishing I could be them. I would wish that, like, they're getting up and they're living lives and there's kids outside playing, and I wanted that. I wanted to be in my daughter's life. I wanted to go to work and be a productive member of society. I just didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to function in life without putting heroin in my body. So I moved back with him and started making meetings. And mind you, when I came into, you know, a newcomer, we don't care what you're here for. When I came into meetings, I didn't come in here to find God. I didn't come in here to work a whole bunch of steps. I didn't come in here to get a sponsor. I didn't come in here to talk to any of you guys. I didn't come in here for any of that. I just wanted absence of pain. That's all I wanted. I wanted the pain to be gone, and I wanted to be able to function. But some people told me, if you want that to be gone, this is what you need to do. You need to get a sponsor. You need to start working steps. You need to get connected with some people in recovery that are trying to do the same thing that you want to do. So that's what I started doing. When I first started making meetings, I used to come in the room, sit in the corner with my hood up, wear headphones, plugged into a phone, mind you, that didn't even work, just so people wouldn't talk to me. That's how antisocial I was. I didn't even know how to talk to people outside of meetings and hold a conversation. All my conversations out there was, how much do you have, who's got the ride, and where are we getting it from? That's as much as my conversations consisted of. I didn't even know how to, it talks about our literature, we lived at an animalistic level. So I didn't even know how to function and hold a damn conversation with people. So I would try to hide out. But some people would come up to me and talk to me and give me hugs and just ask me, like, how my day was, and they would show some interest in my life. And people would offer to pick me up for meetings. And they would ask me, like, Mike, what meeting you making tomorrow? I'm not sure. We'll pick you up. So I started getting connected with some of these people. And I ended up getting a sponsor. And I started working a program of recovery. It took some time, but I started doing it because I had some willingness. I just didn't want to get high anymore. That's what it all came down to. I just did not want to get high, and I did not want to die. That's what it came down to for me. But through that, man, I got a sponsor and made a start on the steps. Admitting I was powerless over my addiction and my life had become unmanageable. It was very clear that my life was unmanageable. It was very clear at that time that I was powerless over my addiction. Now that term and that first step has taken a whole new meaning to me today, but at the time it was all about the drugs. That I was powerless over them and my life had become unmanageable. So I started working that first step. And I started writing on it. And I remember calling my sponsor 2-3 times a day with all the shit that would show up and the feelings and not even knowing, like, really what I'm writing on. And he would help me and he would guide me through that. And I started getting some freedom from that. I started feeling a little bit better about myself. I started hanging out with people in recovery every single day. And everyone in my circle today is in recovery. My best friends in this program are all in recovery. You know, it talks about changing our people, places, and things. I have changed that. Everyone that is extremely close to me in my life is all in recovery and working on bettering themselves. You know, and I still see old friends and on Facebook and this and that, and I still, you know, will say hello and talk to them. But like I keep it short. And I keep it moving, you know, because I know like what I'm trying to do today. So through working that first step, you know, and the obsession, the compulsion, denial, rationalization, justification, unmanageability, everything that incorporates in that first step, that was my truth. That was my truth for a long time. So I started working on that stuff and writing on it and sharing it with another person. Sharing my feelings with my sponsor. Somebody, to this day, he was the first man that I've ever trusted and still trust. Still my sponsor to this day. The first person I ever built a real relationship with. That doesn't judge me, that helps and guides me. Somebody that I could talk to about anything. And I still do. You know, and he helped me work through that step, and I moved on to my second step. Came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. When I got to that second step, I had, you know, when I read that second step, I wrapped it around God. My sponsor asked me, show me where it says God in that second step. It doesn't say anything about God. It says a power greater than myself, which was you guys when I came in. It was the program. It was the literature, sponsorship, step work. You know, the meetings, the fellowship, that was a power greater than myself. That bag of dope was greater than me. So I need to find something to counteract that that's greater than that, and that's you guys. That was the program. Anytime I had using thoughts, you know, or consider driving to the west side, I would call somebody. You know, I'd pick up that phone, I would reach out consistently on a daily basis. And my life started to change. It started changing drastically for the better. And I realized, man, like it's all a direct result of working this program. And I moved on to my third step and made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. And the beautiful thing about this program, and I remember when I first came in the program, my sponsor, he gave me a worksheet. And on that worksheet, it asked me, what does God mean to me? And I left it blank. I answered every question on that worksheet besides that one. Because I had a huge problem with God when I came into this program. I blamed everything on God. I thought the way I grew up was God's fault. The things I seen was God's fault. Anything that happened bad in my life, it was God's fault. A lot of times Mike didn't want to take responsibility for what Mike was doing. So I blamed it on God. But the beautiful thing about this program is you get the God of your understanding. Me and Rob don't have to have the same God. It's anything that's loving, caring, and greater than myself. So I found that. You know, I found the God of my understanding that helps keep me clean on a day-to-day basis. You know, I have a working relationship with the God of my understanding today. And then in that third step, it says I made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. I had to make that decision. Nobody can make that decision for me. I had to make it. And I realized that like Mike on Mike's will was not getting him anywhere. Mike on Mike's will got him treatment center after treatment center after jail after detox, overdose, 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 overdose. That's what Mike's will got him. So maybe I should step on my own way and give it to somebody else. And God for me when I came in was just good, orderly direction. So newcomer, like if that word scares you or God scares you, trust me, it scared me too when I came in. And I didn't know what to do with it, but today I have found that. You know, all them things that I talk about, like that I didn't come in here for, sponsorship, step work, you know, to find God, all the spiritual stuff. I didn't come here for any of that. I found all of that. And it has helped change my life. You know, I'm so grateful for this program. The relationships that I built, you know, I built that trust back with my family. I have my daughter back in my life. I'll be seeing her in a couple days. You know, I mean, I have an amazing job that I was just talking to Rob about that. I got promoted at a couple weeks ago, and I do custom carpentry work. And, you know, I'm in and out of $1 million houses every single day. And people give me codes to their houses and their garages to go in their homes when they're not home and to do work in their house. So I have people that trust me. I have a boss that trusts me. You know, some people trust me today. Mike, a few years ago, would run out with anything that was worth anything. If you had it, it was worth something, I was taking it. But today, like, I live by some principles, and I have some values in my life. And realize, like, that Mike from a few years ago, that was not me. That was my addiction that had completely taken over my life. And I wasn't raised like that. God didn't bring me up to be like that. You know, I was, you know, I believe I'm here doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, people always ask, like, you know, their purpose in life. I believe my purpose is this right here. My purpose is to come and speak and do some stuff and try to help somebody else. Because for so long I was so self-centered in my disease. Everything was about me. I didn't care who I hurt or who I had to go through. But today I don't live like that. I try to help some other people. I'm of service to Narcotics Anonymous. I'm the H&I chair for my area. This is not my area. I come from Fox Valley area. You know, I'm H&I chair. I'm also a panel leader at a treatment center. You know, so I'm of service to Narcotics Anonymous. I give back, and H&I holds such a special place in my heart because that's where I learned about the program of Narcotics Anonymous. If it wasn't for H&I don't believe that I would be here today. So it's something I hold very, very, very dear to my heart, and I'm very involved along with my area, other areas and their subcommittees, and even on the regional level. So I'm very committed to that. And it has given me so much. Just being able to help some other people. And going in the treatment centers and, you know, like I'm just like you. Just because I've put a few 24 hours together, I am no better than anybody else in this room. The newcomers that picked up white key tags in 30 days, congratulations. You're in the right place. Truly in the right place. There ain't no place I would rather be on a Sunday night than right here. You know, I just came back from Michigan. I was out in Michigan from Friday till today. And I made it a point that I had to be back today to be here. You know, so Lauren had picked me up and, you know, literally getting home 10, 15 minutes before I had to come here. Because I know I have to be here. I have to be of service. I have to try to help some other people. So I continue to do that, and I continue to work a program on Narcotics Anonymous to the best of my ability. You know, some days are better than others. Life shows up. Things happen in recovery. You know, my grandmother passed when I had about 4 months clean. My sister, one of my sisters, was in the ICU from an overdose for about a week and a half. You know, I've lost friends to this disease. You know, I've had job changes. I've, you know, had relationship things go on. But not once have I ever found a reason to use. Given me before, if I stubbed my toe, that was a reason to use. But today, no matter what shows up, I have some tools in my life and some other recovering acts. Our literature talks about the ultimate weapon against the disease of addiction is another recovering addict. So anytime anything shows up in my life, I'm constantly reaching out to other people. So I'm truly, truly grateful. No matter what, like I said, no matter what shows up, I have not found a reason to use today. And that's like the biggest piece. And I keep coming back and I make meetings and I work with my sponsor and I help some other people. And it's continued to change my life. You know, if you would have asked me, you know, almost 2 years ago, you know, what my life would be like today, I can never imagine, you know, where it's at. I just moved in when my buddies bought a house, you know, 2 other guys in recovery. And so, you know, so many blessings have came. And those are a lot of the outside things. You know, and the outside things and external things are amazing and they're great. And I'm truly grateful for it. But what this, you know, what has really came to me is love and acceptance and willingness to help others. You know, all them things inside. You know, I came in, I had no self-esteem. I hated who I was. You know, I've been able to build that back up, and today I can truly say I'm grateful and, you know, that I love myself. That I can look in the mirror and see my reflection and be happy with what I see. For a long time, I would walk by mirrors and avoid them and not look at them because I didn't like what I seen. I hated who I was. But through this process and through working steps, I have learned to love myself today. And that's like the most important thing to me. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be clean. Thank all you guys for being here for me. Like I said, newcomer, you are the most important person in this room. I promise you, if I could do it, any of you guys can do it. That's a guarantee, that's a promise. Just keep coming back. That's all I got.
Thank you.